In one way of looking at things, we can say that the Earth is a large system made up of millions of smaller and smaller systems. This systems approach to looking at the world means that we can see the flow of energy, resources, and physical forces between the parts of the system. This flow of stuff can either keep the system the same or drive the system to change. We call this drive to maintain or shift to something novel feedback loops. Imagine a mountaintop with a cold rain falling on it. On its face is a tiny gap that can hold a tiny bit of water. When it rains, a tiny bit of water collects there. That small bit of water freezes and expands and chips off a small bit of the rock. Now, that gap is a little bit bigger, and the next time it rains, it holds a bit more water, which freezes, expands, and chips off a little bit more, making the gap a little bigger. And the next time it rains, it holds a bit more water that freezes and expands, and, well, you get the idea. That small little gap gets bigger and bigger and bigger until a big chunk of rock breaks off, and that bit of the mountain is gone. This is a positive feedback loop. Positive feedback means change. It does not mean good feedback. It just means that there is positive or an additive relationship between the steps in the cycle. Each step adds strength to the effect of the next step. Let's look at another example. Ice and snow are very reflective of the sun's heat and light energy. We call this property albedo. Now, ice has a much higher albedo than seawater, so seawater doesn't reflect as much of the solar energy back out into space. So let's say that we have an unseasonably warm winter, and some of the ice sheet at our poles melt and doesn't regrow. That means that our planet as a whole has less albedo because there's more seawater and less ice, and so Earth doesn't reflect as much solar energy back out into space. That energy sticks around and keeps things a bit warmer than normal, which makes it much more likely that we have another unseasonably warm winter and more ice melts, Earth's albedo goes down, reflects less heat into space, and our atmosphere gets warmer and warmer and warmer until there's no more ice on our planet year-round, and the climate is much higher, and life on Earth changes. See, not necessarily positive, just change. Okay, now let's imagine something else. There's all this carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and some of that carbon dioxide mixes with ocean water to form carbonic acid. Now, carbonic acid in the ocean reacts with calcium carbonate and other salts to form minerals with carbon in them. These minerals sink and become sedimentary rocks, which makes them unavailable to the atmosphere. So when there's a lot of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, sedimentary rocks will have a higher concentration of carbon in them, which can very slowly, remember how long it takes for a mineral to form, drive down the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So each step in the process lessens the effect of the previous. Okay, negative feedback means equilibrium, balance, stability. It doesn't necessarily mean bad feedback. It means that every step in the process makes the effects of the previous step a little gentler. It stops things from changing, and in general, this is a good thing for life. We like nice, stable, predictable places to live. We don't like hill slopes to change. We like them to stay where they are and not slide into our living rooms. We like it when we open our front doors and see the same basic, predictable conditions, not a green yard one week, a desert the next, and a frozen tundra the next month. Equilibrium is comfortable. It's nice. Okay, so I gave you 2 examples for positive feedback, so I'm going to give you another negative feedback example. Let's start in the same place. There's a bunch of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. But now we're going to look at a biological system, namely plants. Plants love carbon dioxide because they need it for their metabolism, which is photosynthesis, and to build their cells. So when there's higher carbon concentrations in the atmosphere, plants grow more quickly and robustly. They take the carbon out of the air and add it to their biomass. And that means that there's much less carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, so the plant growth slows down. This goes on until there's less and less concentration of carbon in the atmosphere. But as that happens, the plants also grow, or the plant growth slows and slows. Okay, and so we have each step in the process having a negative or a minus type effect, okay, to the previous. Now, again, this is not a fast process, but it does happen faster than rocks, but still not fast enough to keep up with our fossil fuel use. However, one part of a solution to a warming climate would be to stop deforestation and to grow more plants because they're part of our climate's negative feedback system. Okay, now if you haven't paid attention to anything else I've said, I want you to pay attention to these 2 points. Write them down, please. Positive feedback means change. Negative feedback means stability.